If a man created it, then then it's a fabrication.
Right.
Welcome. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, brother. I'm doing great. How you doing?
Appreciate you being able to stop in, man, and fill in for Brother Life.
Yeah, I'm taking his place.
Show must go on. Shout out to him. He'll be coming back here very soon.
Word.
However, in the meantime, thought we had Brother Buck back on some one-on-one conversation.
One-on-one.
I wanna play that.
Did you call the number? The hotline? Did I send you anything for the hotline?
Dude, that was horrible.
It's actually a hotline.
I'm not calling that number, man. They tracking all the people who say, okay, this is a follower. This is a follower.
What are they gonna track me and do? Send me all of those tickets?
This is episode 40.
Episode 40.
We about to hit our 1 year mark, bro.
That's dope. That's dope. That's the consistency.
Keeping going.
That's
now, ideally, I think, obviously, we should have been at episode 52 when we get to that 1 year mark if we plan on doing one a week. I keep track of that shit. So life happens, meaning life, not as in capital L, as in the co-host, but life happens.
Message. Some deep
Message. Shit. No, I'm kidding. But want to try to get back on track, man, to some degree. Maybe even do double up, because in year 2, I would like it to be like, episode 104.
Right.
That's something that I really want to try to get back on track to.
That's a goal.
Yeah, it's a real one, and it's a difficult one to obtain, just given all the shit that happens, man.
Life.
Lowercase. For real.
It's lowercase life, but it's an uppercase. It's still uppercase because it's like life. Life is some shit.
Life is an uppercase thing.
Yeah. So that's actually I get it.
So the harder they fall.
No, I'm good. I'm good, man.
Nope.
I ain't gonna be the one, man.
Nah.
I'm always the one.
Nope.
I'm always the one.
Nope. We didn't have too many conversations.
You watched it?
Behind the scenes, I watched it.
Okay. What was your take on it?
So
I'm gonna get your take on it first before I say anything. It's hot. Anytime I talk to anybody about anything from now on, I'm gonna get their take first before I say anything. Because I ruffle feathers too easily.
So it was horrible.
What? It wasn't horrible.
I thought it was horrible. I'm just gonna be honest. As a movie person, I gotta call that shit what it is.
Yeah.
I gotta call it what it is. Now, and this goes back to some of the stuff we be talking about behind the scenes. Yeah. If that was anything else, other than if that was just some regular ass, corny ass white people, we would have been like, that shit was trash. And if it was like anybody other than Jay-Z who was doing it, the storyline was weak. They had too many people that they were trying to shove in it and didn't. Each one of those individuals could have had their own movie and given it an opportunity to develop those characters, connect with them, tell the storyline properly, and all of that. They just shoved a gang of shit into this storyline and said, oh, okay, we're supposed to like it because these some real people who really existed. I thought it was, now, I normally don't critique people's art like that, but I want to use this as a catalyst, quite honestly, to talk about some of the other shit that we always be talking about. Right. But if we just gonna sit on the harder they fall for about 10 minutes, it wasn't a good movie, bro. It was not a good movie.
It was basically, literally, it was the shiny suit theory. You know what I'm saying? You say, so they started the movie off at these people exist, and I'm already like, okay, y'all, like I want I just want to watch the movie first, right?
So now you got a history lesson.
I mean, it just made it. It became thing I've been harping on. It became ideological from the beginning. Like instead of me being able to sit there and like, okay, I get this, and like they introduced the different characters, and like you said, they could have developed them separately because these are really interesting figures.
Yeah.
That out of history, right? And so you like. Yeah, I don't want you to try to shove a half-ass history lesson down my throat. Or like a third of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because then, people are I was watching looking at YouTube, and people are making videos already about these characters. But they're like, well, couldn't find too much information because you didn't really do any research. Yeah. You just want to be, you're spreading myths and whatever, misconceptions about these people. But but like you said, though, is the, you ever seen 13 Assassins?
You asked me that. No, I ain't seen it yet.
It's a Japanese flick, and it's based around that same concept of like the Seven Samurai. So this is kind of like one of those Seven Samurai movies. You know what I'm saying? And they did it with those Brenner movies, those cowboy movies, where basically seven cowboys come together.
Like the Magnificent
Seven. So Magnificent Seven is based off the Seven Samurai. The Seven Samurai, you get Magnificent Seven. Then you get because that's Akira Kurosawa, right? The Japanese director. Director producer. Okay, Akira Kurosawa. I think I'm saying his name correct. Y'all don't have to quote me. So then you get out of that becomes Magnificent Seven movies, right? And then so then that becomes like a genre type of movie you have to do, right? Type of cowboy flick you got to do. So then you get so then 13 Assassins was kind of like kind of like, I'm not gonna say it's a tribute to that, but kind of like in that vein. But you got 13 assassins that come together and they fight off a whole army. You know what I'm saying? The whole army concept, the whole town thing. Mm-hmm. So, but what they did with 13 assassins, and they came out like maybe less than 10 years ago. It's like they really developed the script, and they're giving you like this real like they're informing you, and then they're informing you on how like things may have worked then. You know what I'm saying? So you get a basic idea, and then you get the storyline, and the plot sticks together, and then you don't have like these holes where you're
a lot of holes.
Right, and that's the thing. You don't have these holes where it's like, I shouldn't have to question like, well, why did they do that? Well, why? You know what I'm saying? When I have to say why in the middle of a movie, then that takes away from the movie. You know what I'm saying? You want to feel like, I want to question something like, maybe a couple hours later. Maybe if I watch it again, I'm like, well,
or have a question in the beginning that is answered 3/4 of the way through.
Right.
Like there were just some things that were just left unanswered that I thought were critical elements to the storyline.
Right. But I think within our culture we're not. I don't want to say this. We're not as interested in the mechanics as well as we are the outer image of it. So if you get something that looks good and it's got all the right characters and the town is dressed up and everybody looks fly and they stuff, and you're like, oh, this is it.
And everybody looks black.
Right, and everybody looks black, and the black people are winning the whole time. They go into town, they go into the white town and rob that made no sense at all, especially it was an all white town. Why would you be able to go into you know what I'm saying? But stuff like that where
how could you even get there?
Right, but stuff like that where you're like, okay, so this is really you just want to say black people winning. That's cool. But say that. Don't sell me as this is going to be a good cowboy flick.
These were real people.
Right, because I've seen really good cowboy flicks that you don't say why. At the end, you might be like, man, that was some shit, or maybe I need to figure out what happened in there. Where was that? Why that hole existed? But if you're more interested in the that fluff, that being seen thing, I mean, because there's also good movie and TVs that black folks are creating, and just creative stuff that black folks are doing that doesn't require you to have that mental jump or to somehow not have to think about some shit or say, you know what, that's some, you know what I mean? Like you don't have to bullshit. You don't have to bullshit. But then again, it's not bullshit because they're also, I think the problem is it crosses two lines, right? Cowboy movie, that's one type of thing. Being cool and hip is a different thing. And then, but how do you mesh those two? You know what I mean? So you start making really good cinema. So there's like, you know, because we want to see, I want to see a movie that I want to see 10 times. You know, and I'm
trying to. You asked me a couple weeks ago if I seen the movie.
Yep.
And you said, let me know when you see it.
What you think?
Right. And I was like, okay. And then another text came through and somebody was like, the harder they fall was hard.
It was like that.
I done seen it twice already. And I'm like, oh, okay. So in my mind, I'm like gassing it up. And then the other day I was like, okay, I'm tired of seeing this shit every time I hit on Netflix. Let me sit my ass down and watch it. We have a similar way, I feel, of looking at certain things and seeing the element that I feel gets projected,
right,
or that is used to kind of like I don't know the word. I don't know how to describe it. And also I'll just use this and just say, at the risk of just oversimplifying and maybe even giving people something to disagree with, but blackifying it. It's like a. That's
a great term.
Let's blackify this thing. To the best of our, and then use the fact that it's blackified as the catalyst for success.
Yeah.
Without actually evaluating all of the other elements that should be present that would make that thing great.
Yeah.
Like supporting somebody.
That's a good way to put it. You did it. Yeah.
That was okay?
Yeah, that was great.
Okay. So it's like from the art thing. Are you a black artist or are you just a motherfucking artist who's black? Like, I feel like a lot of the art or a lot of the things that we create from within our culture has to have has to be blackified in order to like give it legitimacy within our culture, as if that thing that person is creating, the thing that person is creating should be able to stand on its own. Right? And I think that's kind of like, that's what I feel like, because I'm rambling, bro.
No, you're not rambling.
But I feel like that's what me and you criticize sometimes in some of these spaces. Like, that shit should be able to stand on its own.
So it's interesting because I went over to the portrait gallery this week.
Okay.
Walked over to portrait gallery because I usually do like National Gallery. First one, I was like, no, I'm going to portrait gallery. I went over to portrait gallery, and I knew that there was a Henry O. Tanner, famous black painter. Okay. Right? And so his most famous painting is the Banjo Player. Everybody loves the Banjo Player. Banjo Player is, it's the slave in the cabin playing the banjo with his grandson or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
And he black. And he's Banjo Player black.
Yeah.
Kid black.
Yeah, kid's black. Henry O. Tanner is black.
Okay.
So crazy part is Henry O. Tanner literally was saying the whole time, like so Henry O. Tanner probably went to Europe late 1800s, early 1900s. Like, this is a black man that, I think his father was a preacher. It comes from, I think he was one generation out of slavery, one or two generations out of slavery. I think it was one generation. And his thing was like, I'm an American artist in Europe. That's it. So, he won some awards, and I think he had a little bit of, there was some, of course there were some people that tried to diss him, over there in Europe. At the same time, he was married to this famous opera singer,
Was she black?
No, she wasn't black. And this is like, and mind you, that doesn't make or break you as a black artist.
Yeah.
We talked about that too. We'll get into that later, I guess. But it was interesting because he's like, yo, like, and like there were like, Negro newspapers here in the States that were like, oh, great Negro artist is taking over the world, because he had won, he's winning these salons, these awards and all this stuff. He's like, no, I'm an American artist living in Europe. And it basically was this idea, like, it kind of like, it can be diminishing to not be able to say you're an artist. You know what I'm saying? To say I create. You black and create. No, I'll create because I create. Like that doesn't change. Now it may affect what I create. You know what I'm saying? It may affect it definitely affects my perspective. Yeah. And that effect is not a bad thing. It's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? So I'm black, I'm an artist, that's cool, but have to be like, before it to have to be blackified is just that kind of like, that makes me cringe. Like, yo, like I can't be dope and be a dope artist. I gotta be a dope. You know what I'm saying? So, and then you want to see motherfuckers do the work. You know what I'm saying? Like we've talked about this shit before. Like I want to see people like really put in the work. I don't care about it's not about your color. If you doing dope work, it's dope. You can't. Yeah. If you see something that's dope, you like, yo, that shit was. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody makes bad movies. You know what I'm saying? The possibility for making good movies is possible for all of us. You know, so what makes things most important? You know what I'm saying? Like, and you saw Parasite, right?
Oh yeah,
that was a great movie.
Great movie. Great movie.
It was only
should have won what it won.
Right. But it was well done, well thought out, well written all the way through. It wasn't about those compromises weren't, you know what I'm saying? The compromises weren't necessary. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing. Like, man, I feel like we just make compromises that are just like, because we feel like it'll get seen, and it's like, well, they already see us.
But we're making those compromises though for. This shit just is what it is, bro. And if I'm wrong, I'm gonna be wrong. It's the blackification that we make the concessions for.
Yeah.
It's how I feel right now. Because this is my individual perspective looking at the landscape and what I see. We as a people, meaning black people, attach to, associate with, perpetuate, validate, all that shit, right? All that shit.
Black culture, but
and when I say black, I mean like black people. Like
right.
All Jay-Z got to do is put his name on some shit, and motherfuckers is gonna watch it. Am I right or wrong with that?
Yeah.
Just because he puts his name on it.
Yeah. But it's kind of interesting. So I wonder what amount of interest is put into like saying, not only are we going to make a product, but we're going to make something that we're going to make a very, very good product. When I say this is also like, you know, I understand that everybody involved in making these kind of movies is dope. They are dope at doing their job. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That's
a good point.
I'm never taking away from another artist saying that they're not. But you can question what they put out. You can question me on what I put out. You can be like, yo.
And you can have an opinion.
Right.
To me, that's the purpose of the art.
Yeah.
It's to reflect something.
Right.
What it reflects, you have as the artist, you don't have any control over that. But I feel like it's created to pose a question.
Yeah.
And the
artists create a conversation.
Right. And I feel sometimes that starts maybe with either a comment or a question. Now that comment could be a criticism. The question could be about them. It could be about us. But to your point, it's to start a conversation. But I feel like the concept of the blackification of things is actually holding us back in a lot of ways.
Of course it is.
And we can't say that, bro.
You just did.
I mean, you see what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. No. Yeah, I think it does hold us back. I think it doesn't allow us. I think it doesn't allow room for actual growth, to actually see other things, to envision things beyond what we've already classified or or spoken into saying this is black culture. This makes you black. This is a black thing. We say this is a black thing.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, we only make up 42 million people out of 7.8 billion people on the planet now. You know, something.
And when
like
we
that.
saying it's a black thing, we really saying it's a black American thing.
Yeah.
Like that and that's that 42 million.
Yeah, it's 42 million. So once you say that, and it's like, okay, but then what else is out there? What else could be a part of, what else could I learn from out here, from these other 7.6 billion people on the planet? What else could I learn from any of them? What other insight could I get? What other perspective could I pick up? You know what I'm saying? Because of course you have your immediate perspective, where you come, but once you start learning and growing, then you take on all these you have all this other information, right? And that helps expand your purview. You know what I'm saying? It helps you see more. So it's not so narrow, it becomes wider. So if I get to see these things, I get to learn these things, why can't I put out some other things? Or why can't I grow beyond just saying it's a black thing? This is, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just that. It is that, but it's not just that. And I don't need you to hold me to this for me to exist. You know what I mean? Because I'm already here. You know what I mean? So it's that kind of thing. Like, how do you put that into play? How do you make that shit? How do you make it happen for like young artists that believe they got to do the same thing over and over again? How many times can we, you know, when I start talking about artists, how many times can each artist draw a black fist? You know what I'm saying? How many times can we all sit here and copy the Basquiat crown and put it on everything we do? After I was kind of like, and even if you, because most of y'all, you wouldn't have fucked with Basquiat when he was 27, right before he died. You know what I'm saying? He didn't hang with you either. You know what I'm saying? He just wasn't that kind of dude. You know what I mean? Like, you can do all your research over you want. You wasn't running with him. You would have said he wasn't black enough then. You know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't to a lot of folks. You know what I mean? Say the same thing about Jimi Hendrix. He wasn't black enough. And the dude, he was like, nah, man, I'm not. You know, they tried to get him to run with the Panthers. He's like, nah, man.
That's not my thing.
I'm groovy on that, baby. It's not my thing. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, he's fucking around with Janis Joplin and you know what I'm saying? Like, he wasn't thinking like that. But then we all of a sudden we're like, no, it's a black thing. It's all us. And it's like, no. You know, I don't know, man.
Why do you think black people hold on to that so much?
Safety. It's a feeling of safety. It's good to feel like you have something that belongs to you. And that comes, and I mean, I know for us it comes out of, you know, our struggles over the last 400 years. You know what I'm saying? But it becomes kind of like this kind of stale, stagnant thing because we hold on to this one thing in the past. And we're so bent on holding on to the past that we never get to really enjoy the moment or look forward. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to do all three at the same time. Yeah. And if you concentrate so much energy into your blackness is based around slavery, you know, Jim Crow, civil rights, you know what I'm saying? If you base everything in those three things, and then there's that line of we're African that we throw in there. It was not that we throw in there, excuse me, that exists, but we don't really know, so we rely on myths to help reinforce our belief system. You know what I mean? So you got these things. So I sometimes feel like those things are competing, man. Like, they're competing. It's hard for you to not just look to the future, but to like think, you know, like I said, think about the moment you're in. Beautiful life you're in right now, and to be like, yo, I want to do this and this, and still be so caught up in, you know, this want of belief and this want of, this is why we dope. We were kings. You know what I'm saying? And all that's like, well, even if you were kings, right now.
The probability of you being
Yeah, well, yeah.
A part of a
royal family,
royal lineage. It's just bro.
like point something. It's point oh something. It's incredible, but we want to believe those things. Those things make you feel good. You know what I'm saying? And it's not that we. So the other part is that, you know, we do talk about the fact that we do need those things, right? Mm-hmm. You do need those.
Why do we need them?
That's a human. It's a human thing, right? That's all humans desire that belief that they are something, because it plays into not only your ego, it plays into your whole existence. And you have to have a reason why you exist. You know what I'm saying? And that also deals with the idea that you are here. You are here. You are important. Your legacy will live on in some way, shape, or form. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like that immortality thing. Like, it's a form of immortality. Like, yo, because I was this and because this happened, this is gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like, we're all humans are trying to show that their existence means something and that they are valued. You know what I mean? It's an eternal thing.
So I'm gonna make a statement and then you tell me what your immediate reaction is to it. Being black is holding us back.
No, it's not holding us back.
It's not.
Being black is holding us back.
The attachment to black.
The attachment to the attachment to a specific identity around what being black is holding us back. Like, I feel like we have to start being like, being black don't hold me back. You know what I'm saying? Like, unless I'm in a room full of white slave owners and some racists. You know what I'm saying?
Because I think the statement of being black holding us back is going to mean different things.
Yeah,
Because if you say it to one person, they're going to think you're talking about your actual skin color.
That's why I was saying it's the attachment to a specific identity around, you know, like, you know, ideological viewpoint or perspective or whatever you want to call it, where we have to say shit like, I mean, you know, whatever. I'm not even want to talk about all the sayings, you know what I'm saying? But like, sometimes they don't, they do you a disservice when you're in a room. And it's like, every room you're in is not about you being held back. You know, there are rooms where you can prosper in, you know what I'm saying? Where people want to see you prosper. And it's not about your color. It's not about your identity, whatever, you know what I'm saying, about, you know, what you into when you get off, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, can you do the fucking work? Or, you know, can you do this shit? And of course, people, you know, there's nepotism, there's, you know, people always put their people first. That's always going to exist. But I think sometimes we put a burden on ourselves. You know what I mean? And it's kind of funny when you turn off that switch. So, I mean, you turn off the switch where it's like everything is, you know, everybody's trying to get me. You know, that's, you know.
But I think that's what the identification does, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that we talk about that we see a lot. It's like when we were in the last joint that we just did, Life had an interaction with somebody with an Indian woman, mm-hmm. and he asked her if she wanted some help, and she looked back at him like, no. He automatically interpreted that
it was because he was black.
He was black and she was racist. He was calling her racist as a result of that.
Yeah.
That is everything that we see is through the lens of black. So it's not necessarily the things that we succeed in per se, I feel sometimes that we associate being black. It's the things that we gotta overcome. Like, cause there are advantages, quote unquote. Like, I don't know if it's black because I'm black or whatever, but I feel like I wouldn't want to be nothing else. And as many negative things that I quote unquote encounter, many quote unquote negative things that I encounter in life, I got a hell of a motherfucking advantage in the same way that any other group has advantages and disadvantages. But those aren't the kind of everything that we see is through the lens. So if you do some shit, bro, you do it because you did it.
Right.
But if you don't do some shit,
because you're black.
It's because you're black. Like all of the positives.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been thinking about that shit, man. I've been trying not to like, cause I catch myself. You know me. You know I try not to like get caught up in it. You know what I'm saying? Like I make a point of it to be like, you know, it's not always these things, because you sit in conversation with other folks and they're like, you know, like
it's always those things,
right? And then you sit with a more diverse group, and they're like, this is a more diverse group. Maybe you sit with some white folks, some Latino folks, some Asian folks, and they're looking at you like, no, nobody's even talking about you being black. Like, what are you talking about, man? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, it's not always those things that we want to believe it is. You know?
And it might actually hold you in high regard because of something, because of like who.
You never know.
You never know.
Now,
all you do know, bro, real quick, not to cut you off.
Yeah,
all you do know is how you're responding and the story you're telling yourself about the responses. That's the only thing you 100% know.
Yeah.
I 100% know that I think she was rude to me because I was black. Yeah. Do I have 100% proof? You ask Life, he got proof. Why? Because he got this feeling. And he knows it when he sees it. But all of that could be bullshit.
It's all bullshit. I mean, I think,
and that's the story.
I think I've come to the point where like I don't assume you're racist. Like you really have to be like, you have to say some shit that's racist to me for me to be like, oh, he's racist. You know what I'm saying? Like, say that shit to me. If you don't say it, then fuck it. We just sitting here in the room talking because, you know, maybe I'm thinking about I don't like white folks either. So, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, whatever, right? Yeah, I give you an example. This is like years ago. I went up to Toronto with this young lady, right? And so, young lady stayed in the hotel room, and I was like, I'm going out. This is years ago, and go sit in this bar in Toronto. And it was busy. It was like a cool little hip bar. Somebody told me the bellhop or whatever at the hotel told me to go there, check it out. I mean, it's hip. People are moving. There's a white girl serving, real pretty white girl. She's the bartender, and this thing is two bartenders. She's just really, really busy. And this black young lady sat down next to me. And so she's like, so I'm just like, kind of like, can't get served. I'm getting frustrated. I'm frustrated for a few reasons, but you know what I'm saying? I've only been in Toronto for maybe a few hours, you know what I'm saying? And now I'm out by myself because my friend that I came with want to be whatever. And I'm like, oh, I'm out. I'm frustrated. I'm sitting there. Can't get no service. The young black lady sits next to me, and she's like, what's the problem? I can't get no service in here. I think it's because I'm black. She was like, oh, no, we don't do that here. So she calls the bartender over. Excuse me. Something. This man was trying to get served. He's not getting served. There's some racist shit going on. And that's just to Canada. You really, you know, of course there is racism everywhere. But overtly in Canada, it ain't really the same shit. It's not the same shit at all. It's just a whole different thing. And the white girl's like, oh, no. I'm so sorry. My boyfriend is black. He plays for the Argonauts. Whatever. I think that's the Argonauts is the football team in Toronto. Okay. I think I could be wrong. CFL. He plays for the Argonauts. I would never be racist. And I was like, oh, my bad. She was just busy as shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that was before I like started hanging out in the bar industry for me to really understand how those things occur. But like this, even to say like, you know, I sat in bars and restaurants, you know, people I'm working with, and I sit at the end of the bar, and I've seen black folks come in, not get served right away and talk about the racism, and you're like, but I know them, and I just know they busy because I've been watching them. There's no malfeasance going on. It's just, you know what I mean? So we get caught up in that, man. We get caught up in that stuff, and it's just, that's a shame because how much energy is taken doing that.
But I think that's the black holding you back. At least that's what I mean when I say it.
Yeah, I got you.
And even as it relates to the harder they fall, it's like we internalize perceptions of value based on certain criteria, and one of which ultimately is like, at least as a society as a whole, right? Maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but as it relates to everything in our sphere is about race.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. How
we get treated, how we're not being treated, how well we're being treated.
Yeah.
And a lot of times what we're evaluating is a projection, is our own projection. It's not the thing that's actually there. The harder they fall, if a white person did that movie, we would think that was a shitty movie.
I think it's a shitty movie.
But because somebody black did it,
it's a shitty movie that you'd watch once.
That you watch once. Yeah. You wouldn't watch twice.
No.
Now, I've heard multiple people watching that joint twice. Now, and here's the crazy part too, because somebody's going to look at this and be like, everybody's got to like the kind of movies you like. That ain't what I'm saying. And if you are that person who is oversimplifying my statement to that, then I don't even feel like you're ready to even have this kind of conversation, because we're really just trying to be honest about certain aspects of what it means and how we communicate and what we lift up and what we don't, for really just unjustified reasons. Every black person out there who's doing something don't make it gold necessarily just because they black.
Yeah.
It just don't.
Yeah.
Everybody who's out there slighting us ain't doing that shit just because we're black.
Yeah.
They might be doing it because you're an asshole. They might be doing it because they don't like you.
That's always a funny conversation to be like, or maybe you're just an asshole.
Maybe you're just an asshole.
But there's...
And when did rude become racist? Maybe somebody is doing something because they're rude.
Yeah.
It ain't even got nothing to do with you.
Okay, I guess I'm kind of throwing the question back at you. So, what's the fix? What's the and I'm probably too early in the conversation. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. So it's like, what's the fix though? Like, how do we, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do we keep from projecting when it's unnecessary? I'll give you an example. Arthur Jaffa's this big time black artist, and he did like some of the Kanye West videos, the last couple ones with all the like
Arthur Johnson,
Jaffa. Okay. I think I'm saying his name right. I'll be messing up names. I always mess up names. My bad, sir. So he was on TV talking about I was again watching him, but he was it was an artist talk. He's in Europe somewhere, and he's talking about his work and his slide presentation. He just collects all these images. He's talking about the movie Alien, and he's talking about how the alien pops out the chest of the people, you know, but that's a representation. Somehow it's a representation of blackness because the aliens are black, and how Yaphet Kotto in Alien, the first one, the way he reacts is because he's a black man and understands this black creature, this creature coming from this human, whatever, you know. And I'm jacking it up a little bit, but I didn't hear. But he does say. But here's the crazy part. During this talk, he says, "Of course, I'm projecting," and I'm like, "But you know that your audience isn't going to hear that, and black audiences aren't going to hear the part where you say you're projecting. They just know that you said the black alien was a representation of blackness, and it feeds this thing. We keep feeding this machine. You know what I'm saying? Even when we know it's like, okay, I'm projecting, y'all. I made that shit up.
So how do you kill it?
How do you?
I think you. So how do you fix it? I think you got to kill it. That's what I think in order. And this is gonna sound. man, see, people have to take responsibility for what they hear.
Yeah.
And this is a part of what you were just saying. Like, somebody's going to always interpret. You got to take responsibility.
Right.
You can't put all that shit on what somebody else is saying and how they going to hear it. It's like the thing that Buck did, or not Buck, but B did the other day. And he was like, I am 100%, he said, I 100% agree with mandatory vacations.
Yeah. And everybody.
What he got
that.
below that, and people were mad at him. Right. And even though he said it was always vacations, which it was, they were saying he changed it. So people got to take responsibility, bro. We got to kill the ego. And inside of our egos is where these identities attach to all of these titles and shit is. Nobody alive created the concept of black. Yet it is something that we hold so motherfucking tightly and strongly to that it's holding us back. It 100% is holding us back, dude.
But how do you, but what's the, because I called it, I've started calling it egocentricity. Like, we're egocentric. We're very like, it's about us. You know what I mean? And it's insulating. How do you?
You kill it. So you kill it. You're starting the process of eroding that idea.
Right.
It's not something that's going to happen overnight, but it is. It should be an objective, and it's one of the things that like with it should be an objective.
Right.
Because, how do I say it? We're human first. Mm-hmm. And some of the stuff that you are putting out online about, like, how hard is it for you to just describe yourself as a human? That's killing it. Right. It's eroding the concept of associating with anything other than the truth of the matter.
Right.
If a man created it, then then it's a fabrication.
Right.
That doesn't mean you don't acknowledge the very real mechanics and forces that are at play that impact groups of people.
Right.
But you shouldn't use that as the way you view the world and everything in it to the degree that we do. And that's going to take time to deprogram that, bro. The black man or the concept of black people can't survive if humanity is to survive. And that's what I firmly believe.
That's real. That's real. That's the breakdown. And you did start that off right with the idea that you're human first, right? And then, of course, these other things, you're a man, then you're African American. Then you're man.
Today.
You know what I'm saying? Human.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is about peeling those things back. Peeling them back as much as possible. And understanding that, like, life is hard for all humans. You know what I mean? I think in the whole thing I've been thinking about with the egocentricity thing of being egocentric. I think barriers get put up and you begin to lack empathy for other groups because that doesn't benefit your group. So the more you can dehumanize or show that they aren't as important as you are as a human, then all of a sudden you're gonna be okay. But it doesn't work that way. So
it doesn't work that way at all.
It doesn't work that way at all. That's not how that's not how humans evolve. It's kind of like you shed that. You know what I'm saying? And we think about these things, like you think about patterns of how, like, humans have traveled the earth and have gotten to these different places. Well, it just wasn't one group. You know what I'm saying? It's never been just one group. It's never been just one thing. You know what I mean? And you can. It's interesting. Here's the question, because I think I talk about this a lot. So. I don't even know if this is a question, but a statement. No, it's a question. I'm sorry. Can you deprogram blackness and at the same time destroy whiteness? You know what I'm saying? Like, because we have to be concerned about that whiteness thing, right? Or white, whatever you call it.
Why? Because we've been told we got to.
Yeah, that's true. True. But we cannot deny that it has caused some issues over the last 300-400 years.
It has.
Yeah. Now, mind you, when I have these conversations, I'm usually thinking about I always say contextually, I'm not thinking about just the last 400 years, the last century, last couple centuries. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking about humanity from the beginning of the time. You know what I mean? Like, on that scale, no, whiteness doesn't mean anything. But for the last couple hundred years, the last 400 years, it's been a problem.
Race is like money, bro.
It is.
It has value because we say it has value. We agree
on that value.
That's
real.
And the only way we give it, the only way its value is diminished is by not acknowledging it. It is one of the very few things that actually perpetuates through you acknowledging it. And so everything that we have to do. So if a white dude pulls you over, as an example, if a white man pulls you over and he says, "Get your black ass out the motherfucking car, nigger," right? You get out of the car, he roughs you up, and then you leave. And then you go to your house, right? You talk to your family. You talk to your family. What would an evolved, I don't want to say that because that make it sound like niggas in Neanderthal now. What could a potential reaction or response to that be? So when you get to the crib and people be like, "Yo, what happened?"
If you tell them exactly what happened, everybody's gonna be up in arms.
You could say, "Somebody pulled me over."
Right.
Why'd he pull you over? Why he do this? Why did he do this?
Right.
He didn't do that shit because he was a racist. He did that shit because he was a mean person.
Yeah. But then on top of that.
And then they say, well, why did he do it?
Right.
They say, he is walking around here fucking with people because of the color of their skin.
Right.
He's not fucking with you because you black. He's fucking with you because he's mean.
I get what you're saying. You're peeling it back. Okay, I see the way you're peeling it back. But people don't.
So, but this is how we fight it.
Right.
Because when we acknowledge it.
Right.
When we acknowledge the racism, we perpetuate it. So now you telling people you did this shit, he did this shit because he racist. So when you tell somebody else, he's saying he doing this shit because he racist. And then they telling somebody, well, what happened to James? James got beat up by this racist cop. They don't say he got beat up by this motherfucking mean cop. They don't say he got beat up
nasty individual
by this hateful person. Yeah. They say because in our mind we want to conflate racist with hate. They're not necessarily the same thing. And this is where we fuck up when we go after in how we choose to react and respond to these things.
Yeah. How do you say it? Yeah, but you're asking for a level of consciousness in folks that they don't want to partake in. It's easy just to go ahead and say that this is a thing without.
But you know who is, bro. This is what I give them credit for. These young people, they're not seeing race the way we do.
No, they don't.
They not seeing it.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get frustrated as the older motherfuckers in the room because, like, you can't see this shit. You ain't seeing this the way. Like, no, we're not seeing. If they don't see this, gender shit the same way we do either. They don't see the world the way that we do.
But I think, that's generational, right? So we had
So 50 years from now.
Yeah, it's generational. I think I'll give you an example. When we were down in Charlotte, and we go into this spot to pick up some wine and beer for my boy for his house. We wanted to pick him up something. So my mom is with us. So we go in there, we have a good time. In the liquor store. In the liquor store. It's like a wine shop, but it had like you could sit there and drink.
Okay.
Nice setup. So we're in there. It gave us a discount on some products and some different, like, hey, you get that beer for $4. It was terrible, but a couple other things we got. We got some wine and stuff for the house, and at first I didn't know the dude was the owner. I was kind of like. Then I found out he was the owner. It's that whole thing when you first going somewhere and you're trying to figure out who to talk to, and you don't know, and then you figure out like, oh, this guy's the owner. Mm-hmm. He ended up being really helpful. And then like this other young white couple came in. The woman was very attractive, and they had an exchange with my mom, and it was like, oh, you look pretty. I think my mom was telling the white girl she looked pretty, and he was like, oh, thank you. You do too. And she, my mom does her little thing. So we get out there, and we're in the car, and we're like maybe 20 minutes from the house. My mom is like, they didn't think they didn't think we knew nothing about alcohol. So, it was something like those racist white folks, something. I was like, and I had this moment, I was like, nope. It was like, that didn't happen. Like, none of that happened when we were in there. There was no moment. My mom sat there at the bar, at the little whatever, and they treated her nicely, and it wasn't like, there was no like, secret cabal on like, we gonna get, there were other black folks. There was like two young black ladies out front drinking. You know what I'm saying? It was like, people were friendly. These other two white ladies like, oh, where are you taking all that stuff? We want to go to the party. And we were like, no, ha, ha, ha. So it was nothing. There was nothing there at all that was, but, my mom, I think she said, because I was like, yo, where'd that come from? Like, that didn't happen. Like, to me, it was like, you're not going to interrupt my reality. You interrupted my reality with something, with a projection that is harmful. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it didn't exist. You know what I mean? If it did really happen, then I'd be like, fuck yeah, dude, you gotta go back in there. You're gonna talk to my mama like that, So it's like, but what is it? So I was asking her, like, what is it that made you feel that way? She's like, oh, I don't know. It's just, growing up and in the past and things that happened to me. And I was like, but we weren't in the past. We were just, but so it's kind of.
Aren't we all doing that though, bro?
Yeah, we are. And that's the crazy part. It's like, so it's that, I think the thing for me was more so like, at what point in your reality do you kind of like, if I'm here right now and you tell me you had a racist moment, but I was there with you and nothing happened, can I stop and be like, no, that's not what happened.
You can't, so this is the thing about racism, bro. It's an individual thing. Her set of life looking back on that woman, mm-hmm. Can't nobody tell him that wasn't racist. I could have been sitting right there next to him,
right,
and just said, that was just a rude broad, right? But I can't tell him that his set of past situations and interactions lead him to interpret that this is why you got to kill it. Because as long as it exists, as long as it exists, the potential for it to be projected is always there. And the projection doesn't serve because it's a man-made projection.
Fabrication. Yeah.
There are other things that are observable.
Right.
That interactions can be associated with.
Right. Like when we talk about systemic racism and things like that, that's something totally different than.
That's totally different than human.
Right. Because a lot of time, and I always say that
the reallocation of funds, shitty schools in this particular area.
Right.
Homeless. I mean, there are a lot of things that we could look at, but individual.
That's racism. Yeah. Man, homegirl, her and her homegirl stopped by the crib one time. Her and her dude she was hanging out with, and he was like, yo, he had never been to my crib before. And, my neighborhood is predominantly white, predominantly being the key word. You know what I'm saying? And
all.
Basically. There's more black folks on the block than you know. Funny thing is, half the black people don't talk to you on that block. Anyway, so crazy thing is, he's like, and that goes, he's like, yo, when we were walking up, he's like, are you all right in this neighborhood? I was like, yeah, I've been living here forever, dude. He's like, yo, when we were walking up, these white folks were sitting out there talking. And when we walked by, they stopped talking. Something. And I was like, okay. Well, they was like, they might have been having a conversation and didn't, what I'm saying? Like, your projection is not what it is. You know what I mean? Like, my neighborhood, white folks don't talk to each other. You know what I mean? It's not like, it's not like they just not speaking to you. And of course, there can be all those other things that exist, but it's not always that. It's not all, you get tired of that because that can wear you out. Being so caught up in all of that can wear you out, when you can really be like, you can look at circumstances and see where harm has been done. And sometimes harm comes from people that look like you. Because you're more likely to
most of it.
Right, because you're
on the one-to-one.
One-to-one. But like if you're in a predominantly black neighborhood and you get beat up a lot.
But that's the fatigue of blackness, bro.
Yeah.
Because the amount of energy that you have to consume, because that is a constant management of stress, of threat. And if ever you feel in situations like that, dude, that consumes a lot of energy, and you can get fatigued.
Right.
After a while, like every time you say, "Oh, what are they doing? Oh, what are they not doing? Why did they stop talking when they got that? Oh, you know what? It got to be because I'm black. Oh, got it. Boom. Move on to the next thing. Oh, why they do that? Oh, it's because I'm black. Oh, okay, got it. Move on to the next thing."
My thing is like, when do you just get tired of that and be like, because sometimes that shit is tiring. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is exhausting. I mean,
because you got to think. Now, and this is the reason why we offload to past experiences, especially ones that somebody else told us. We've been told to interpret that shit as that, bro.
Yeah.
So, and it makes it less, it requires more thought to think something different.
Yeah. And it relegates you to certain things. You gotta do certain movie a certain kind of way. You gotta, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so self-perpetuating. It becomes that's all you can do. So when we look at like movies and we're talking about Hard They Fall, it's like, okay, these people existed. Okay. Like, I was kind of like, at that point, I'm saying that's 3 seconds in, I'm like, okay. Like, y'all just made me tired. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would rather have been like, I don't know. I don't even know how they could have presented it differently. But I know I'm the kind of movie person that, like, I'll look up all the characters. You know what I'm saying? I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know why they played this. I like that kind of stuff. I just didn't feel like it needed to be presented that way.
The story, minus all of that, the story wasn't good.
No, it was.
Why did they have to kill people at Redwood if they trying to redo it? If they trying to make a Mecca?
I don't know, dog.
Why are they going so hard? Ending up in spoiler alert, fuck it. That's his brother? Why did Cherokee Bill die the way he died Like there was just way too much. Old girl, I'm gonna say Angela Bassett.
Yeah,
dude, it was just I don't start injecting the black shit until I don't give a fuck if the people was real or not.
Right,
I don't give a fuck if it was a real, true life Hollywood story.
Right.
It sucks. It just wasn't a good joint, bro. It's like, and everybody, and we're repeating this shit. Okay. We're repeating how good it is, and people are saying they watched it twice, and people are sharing it. We ain't sharing. Bro, have you seen No Time to Die?
The
James Bond joint?
I turned it off. It was bad.
It was horrible.
It was bad.
It was horrible.
Bond ain't supposed to talk that much.
Now, if James Bond was black, now they did have a sister in there. But
if James Bond was black, they would have watched that shit 10 times and said it was.
Were we passing Parasite around?
I mean,
as a people,
I was, but no, we weren't as a people because I was like, yo, y'all got to see this shit.
This shit's hard. That shit was gangster.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know why we do that. Like, you know, I saw like people complaining about Dune.
We pass around the Jay-Z just hit billion. Like, I don't give a fuck about him hitting $1 billion, bro. Like, we pass these shits around like, oh. Man, it bothers me. To a degree.
I think it's kind of interesting because sometimes we don't pass around the things the real gems that are put out by like African American creators because it doesn't fit that narrative and it doesn't fit, you know, that and those people that play, maybe those actors or actresses don't fit what we are considering to be just black culture. Because I don't know if you've seen Foundation. It's on Apple TV. Mm-hmm. Foundation has 2 black women
who are main, significant, prominent characters.
Not just main, like they are the protagonists. They are the 2 main protagonists, and I haven't heard a peep from anybody regarding that. You know what I'm saying? Invasion. You see Invasion? It's got.
I watch Invasion. It got the brother.
It's got the brother, and it's got an Indian woman and an Asian girl, all prominent characters in this thing. And matter of fact, it's more people than that in there, and not a word.
Crickets, bro.
Not a word. And so those are things where you're like, well, what is it? You know what I mean?
Ted Lasso is a good ass show.
I've only seen one. I'm supposed to sit down and watch Ted Lasso, and I've heard about how good it is, and I've only seen one episode totally. So, and I thought it was good. I thought the one I did see was like fantastic.
Ted Lasso was real good. So, and the way they're handling mental health type stuff in there too, and like this whole idea of manhood. Well, at least that's how kind of like my lens on it. Right. But I thought it was a good movie. But you know, you get a cast of characters and you put a whole Black Dynamite.
The original one?
No. The one with the second one. Okay. I loved it.
Really?
Thought it was a great for what it was. It was great.
I get it though. Yeah, I get it.
For what it was.
I like the original one. I like the first one. The first one was really good.
But what this is actually being sold as ain't that.
Yeah.
The writing was weak.
I'm just trying to figure out again if this spoiler.
Now the cinematography and all that was good.
Cinematography is beautiful.
It was a beautifully shot joint.
Beautifully shot. I mean, it's just certain things like, okay, so spoiler. Why wouldn't they just let Idris Elba out of the cage and off of the train and keep their guns if they knew that's all that they wanted?
And why would they stop with her just being in the middle of the goddamn?
Right. And if you're army, if military on the train, and you know a train is stopping, you're a military.
You're gonna let the conductor get off,
and you're not gonna leave. You're not gonna. He's gonna be sitting in the cabin just
hoes, bro.
Like that's
I'd rather see Fast and the Furious.
Oh God.
I'd rather see a car jump the Empire State Building and land perfectly on an airplane.
It's not a jumping logic. It's not a jumping. Yeah.
I'd rather see that.
Yeah.
Some CGI shit than for you to try to shit like that in movies make me not even want to watch.
All right. When old boy left him the wagon with the dynamite and they were standing right by the dynamite. And I was like, why would Cherokee Bill shoot him then? Because Cherokee Bill has the ability to shoot. Apparently he's the fastest gun in the West.
It was bad, bro. I did not think it was good at all. I did not think. Only thing, like I said, all I thought was just the cinematography is beautifully shot, like all of that. But like the writing and the storyline, bro, it wasn't.
No.
And I get it. People want to watch it. I guess if you watching this and you watch that twice, then yeah, I'm judging.
Old boy was good. Comedian.
Deion Cole.
Deion Cole was good. Like
he played a good role.
He played the shit out of his role.
Yeah, he did.
He
did good.
Yeah, I was like, yo, like he really sold his role.
He played that.
It's like,
boy did too. Lakeith.
Yeah, I feel like
if he had better script, if he had better writing.
Yeah, I thought he played his right.
I felt like he was trying to be a Black Doc Holliday. To a degree.
I feel like he might have went and looked those up a little bit. Yeah, he might have looked into those characters because he's really, he was like, I was depressed while we were shooting. Something happened.
Oh, really?
Oh, he had a whole thing, and the horse had brought him around and the horse made him feel better. I actually read that shit.
ATL. You fuck with ATL?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, some of our shit. The bad part about offering any critique of our people that does not perpetuate certain narratives and then be reprimanded for it. We all don't think the same.
No.
We all don't feel like we're fighting the same fights. We all don't feel like we're doing things in the most constructive ways to solve whatever kind of problems that we feel that we have. And some of the and my thought about some of the shit, bro, quite frankly, is we're perpetuating a lot of the problems that we have.
Yeah.
And we've got to own that because my goal, I don't want to live in a world where black people all the goddamn time. Like in my ideal world, if I want humans to give a fuck about humans.
Yeah.
Now, that should be the objective. Now, if we got to come together in a group in order to codify, to acquire resources, so that we then can go out and connect to a larger whole. But the aim should always be to connect to a larger whole. And I feel like our aims sometimes, even when we're talking about Democrat, Republican, Christian, right, Jew, black, white, rich, poor, is to just congregate with your group.
Just narrow, it becomes very narrow.
It's extremely narrow. Yeah. And I don't, and maybe there are discussions about connecting to a larger thing or whatever. And maybe sometimes we don't feel like that possibility exists because of the forces that are out there
around us. Yeah.
But I don't, from my vantage point, I don't see it that way.
Right.
I just don't. We got way more of all of these things that we say we didn't have. And then a lot of the things that we say we still struggle with, we still are struggling with. And is that racism or is that us?
I think
maybe it's a combination of both.
It's a combination like that. I think it gets instilled and injected into your DNA or your genetic code, whatever, and then you kind of like it exists and it's always there and it's always. So it's present, but, hell, somebody else is fighting with something else somewhere else. You know, somebody else is fighting another demon somewhere else too. So, you know, do you ride? Do you sit in that, or do you, you know, find another way to work around that? Do you work with it? You know, I mean, I think a lot of times I'm like now I've been on this thing like, you know, whatever you got, if you're trying to get somewhere, you got to go through it. If you're trying to get over something, you can't get around it. Go straight through that motherfucker, right? Yeah. So it's understand that racism does exist. It's understand that blackness or whiteness or whatever term you want, these things do exist, but that ain't it. And I'm just not sitting in it. I don't want to just sit in it. I don't want to just sit here and say all these things are all the problems I have, and I have to do these things this way because of this. You know what I mean? Like,
and we also have to talk about, I feel, the victims of racism. And it's not just black people. It's not just Asian people.
Yeah.
Like, racism is a cancer that is eating
it doesn't
all groups of people, even white people.
Yeah.
And this
it does them more harm because, you know,
and I don't
from learning too.
And so when we talk about racism, it's not necessarily one of the things that we was called the identification of groups. I can't remember what the name of the podcast was, but it was like, when you're looking at people's skin color, you're actually missing the bigger point of racism.
Yeah.
Because the idea of racism is for you to, or how we've been taught to fight racism, how we've been taught, or how we at least perceive it, is that it's based on everybody who has this color is like the other that we should be wary of. A black person can be perpetuating racist ideologies more than a white person, a person with white skin, because that's racism. Racism is going to use whatever group of people they can to perpetuate racism.
Yeah.
So if we're going to go out and try to fight it, we can't just fight, quote unquote, fight people who are white.
I mean, you have to fight the idea of it. You have to fight just the banality of just our fucking I don't know, man. No, it's kind of like, I don't know the words I want to use for this, because it's very, I mean, we know it's a lot more, it's deeper than color, right? It's deeper than I come from this one place. It's very human thing to do, to find a way to say that person over there is your problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very human to be like, you gotta watch out for them, you gotta watch out for them, you gotta watch out for them. We gotta take care of this group. And we become this, we're trying to hold on these ideas of like tribe and stuff that you can't. Like, you're not, you know what I'm saying? It's not your family or like your little village. It's not the same thing as you saying you're part of 42 million people. It's not the same thing as saying like the U.S. is your, you know, I'm an American. And that's like, that's that nation shit. And nations aren't in the best interest of the individual. You know, they never work in the best interest of the individual.
They're in the best interest of the nation.
Right. But when we try to make these things this super race thing, and this is what white folks were doing 100 years ago, 120 years ago, when they were big on like the white race is we're the master race and we have to hold these other races. And I was like, really, no, it doesn't work like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, no matter what you do, you still need these other motherfuckers. Like, it always comes back to you. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know how we get away from that, man. I just don't know what we do to, I don't know what anybody can do to take a step back, realize that your color of your skin is probably like the least most important thing. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not that important. Maybe we got to have aliens come in, have alien invasion, and then we decide we got to fight against them in order for us to come together. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe the monkeys arise, like we got to fight the monkeys You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden everybody's like, hey, we the same. It's like, okay, cool. We all the same. We all human. But otherwise, we don't. It's just like we always create something, man. Koreans don't like Japanese. You know what I'm saying? Chinese don't like Japanese. Japanese don't like anybody. You know what I mean? Like, we create all these divisions. And
that's the piece that you say is human nature.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's very human to be like, after you get to a certain number, like, oh no, they different than us. And you're like, what? Like, who decided that?
So is that a size thing? Is there, so if we're inclined to do what you're saying we do, then the idea of size limitations have to be factored in.
So like, yeah, I think it's like 100, 150 people. After that, it's kind of like, you can only, how's it work? Like, you can work with the group of up to like 100, 150 people. And after that, you lose control. So then basically, I mean, but it doesn't even take those numbers. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you gotta have two people that look at another two people and be like, man, we ain't like them. You know what I'm saying? Nah, they different, dog.
But there are different mechanics at play when you're controlling large groups of people, right?
Yeah.
They're not, so you do have to create threats. Like, and those are outside things.
Threat and incentive, yeah.
Those are outward forces. So like even the idea of nation, this is why we have nations, right? Because we'll beef all goddamn day long till we got to go to war. And then when we got to go to war, guess what? We American.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's why like that alien threat comes, because it's like, look, I don't give a fuck about being, we are human. So now when the aliens come, guess what? It's going to be us against them. We ain't going to be talking about North America, America against the aliens.
Yeah.
They coming to murk everybody.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that we do that. I think it's interesting that we say, I think it is interesting that we're like, you know, we come together as Americans, defeat the Afghans or whoever the fuck we fighting that week. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, World War II, regardless, we talk about the racism that was involved in like holding like, you know, so black soldiers from actually fighting to damn near the last part of the war. And we can say, but again, black motherfuckers was still, regardless, they still wanted to go out there and fight. Like, they still wanted to fight. They still were like, nah, let's go kill the Nazis because the Nazis are a threat. You know what I'm saying? So it still is that, you know, that coming together where you're like,
we bought into this shit just as much as anybody else. We just ain't really had the opportunity. At least the perception is that the opportunity hasn't always existed for us to participate in the same way. And so, I mean, once the opportunity is present, boom, we hop on it.
Yeah. Okay, of course. And listen, the ideals, some of the ideals, if we're talking about Americans, the ideal of America, like the, you know, land of freedom and da. Like, people believe in that kind of, it's still belief. It's a myth, but it's a belief, but it's a belief system for folks. So people are willing to die for that. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just interesting to watch how we like, you get, you know, it's always good when you see a movie, like a war movie, you see like the battalion is made up of, whatever, platoon, whatever, is made up of like blacks, whites, Latinos, and they're all like, nah, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, we trying to, you know, we fighting, and they're fighting, but then again, they're going to fight against somebody else. And it's like,
you know what the next level of group dynamics are going to be outside of nations and governments?
Planets? By planet?
Corporations.
Yeah, that's true. Oh no, I think that already exists.
But like,
yeah, I got what you're saying. Yeah, I see that.
It's gonna be Apple.
Yeah.
Fighting
Google
and killing motherfuckers
from Google.
For Google.
Yeah. Because you know, and it's like you know, like that's what our religions are becoming. Our religions are becoming like our corporations. Like, You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Was that you? I was talking to somebody yesterday. We were talking about that shit. Like it's no longer that that you have to worry. Like it's like, you know, who do you praise? Who do you pray to? I pray to Apple. You know what I'm saying? Apple or Google. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so those are religions. They going at some point they do have to.
And when you
go to war for resources.
What is going to help usher in this new level or this new, the next level of it is people being able to work from anywhere. Yeah. Like now, especially like after the pandemic. Now this is me just on some conspiracy theory shit, but.
Oh, you conspiring, brother.
With the theory, I'm sorry, with the pandemic shutting down and over 55% of the people saying they not going back to work, that they want to work remote. Imagine now, bro, if you wanted to work for Apple, you had to literally work at headquarters or in that city of headquarters. Right. Now you can literally work anywhere in the world as long as you have an internet connection. Right. If you want to connect with them. Right. So if Apple, that means Apple can hire literally anywhere in the world for that area. And if you connected to Apple in that way, past your government, past your people, like who is going to be your people if it ain't going to be Apple? You ever walked into an Apple store, bro, and seen how diverse Apple is? They got, man, I ain't seen that much diverse. Now, that's not to say it's like that in the boardroom.
Boardrooms, it ain't like that.
But on that motherfucking floor?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think that is kind of it's an odd thing to see how people ally themselves and what creates their alliances. And that's usually based on the met of needs, right?
And proximity.
And proximity. Yeah. So I think that's interesting, man, because like we talk about you know, poor white people and poor black people living together in the area, you know, and if
they make that shit work.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it'll be no problems.
It'll be
no problems. They'd be so, man, you ever gone to like
race don't come up?
No.
I mean, not on no real,
no.
Call you white boy Rick and just keep that shit moving.
I mean, you can name any industrial city where like you have large white and black
rabbit
poor neighborhood poor neighborhoods, and you see the shit, you know what I mean? Like motherfuckers don't have no problem. I mean, of course there's always, you know, it's always gonna be something, but no, we're not talking about no grand scale problems of racism. This is only when you have large homogenized groups, or like you have one group that's larger than another group, and then you get that. You know what I'm saying? It's not. But when everybody's working from that same level and working from the same issues, you'd be like, all right, dog. Yeah. Look, it'd be like, all right, dog, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
We in the same boat. Like we in the same pot.
Yeah, literally. And we don't get it. And I think that's the part that we keep going back to the awareness thing, like being aware that you're all in the same pot. You know, we spend so much time we spend so much time trying to show that we're different. I'm so different. Yeah. We so different. You know, black people do this. Black people do that. And it's like, really?
You know, black people struggled. 400 years. We were slaves. We couldn't read.
And you like, you know, and when you start having these, you know, but you know, you see the little memes on whatchamacallit? What's this?
Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram would be like, black people always put their cereal on top of the refrigerator. Whatever. And it's like, you know, they do that shit too though, right? Like, after a while you're like, so, you know, black people, they put their shoe on the left foot first. And it's like, but what are you talking, like all the stuff that y'all are trying to prove that makes us so black are just, you're really just proving our humanity. You're proving that everybody else does the same thing if they live in proximity to you. You know what I'm saying? The people that live around you, live near you, they do the same shit, most likely. Because they're on the same socioeconomic level. You know, we don't eat the ends of the bread because we got a little bit more money. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not a black thing. You know what I'm saying? This is a thing that people do.
Is there something that is a black thing? Is putting used grease in a put it on your stove? No. Is that a black thing?
No, because Latinos do it too, apparently. And I was like, God damn it. I found out they do that too. I mean, no, but not even just them. Poor people do that. Poor people have always done things like that. Because you have to conserve your,
Do black people put raisins in do white people put raisins? I'm sorry, do black people put raisins?
No, they do not. That's a taste thing. That is
a culture thing?
That is a culture thing. That is a culture thing. I would take that as a culture thing. But when I think about like basic things like,
do white people drink grape soda?
Yes, they do.
You've seen a white person drink.
I've never seen it, but you've seen. wait. But how much? But as much as grape soda as they produce,
any fruit soda, that's some black shit.
No, if you see as much as they produce of this stuff, it's got to get drank by somebody.
Mountain Dew. White people eat Mountain Dew. Drink Mountain Dew.
White people drink Mountain Dew. They drink the shit out of Mountain Dew.
They fuck up some Mountain Dew.
They will fuck some Mountain Dew up.
Have you seen Mountain Dew mouth?
No.
Oh, bro. They got a condition called Mountain Dew mouth where they drinking so much Mountain Dew
they mouth
it start rotting their teeth. Oh. They put it in baby bottles and shit. Now there is some shit that and here's the thing. There is something, and I know that wasn't your point.
No.
There's some shit that we do that's motherfucking different.
Yeah, but I think there are cultural, there are cultural differences, right? But it's not.
It's small.
It's small because
and a lot of it's regional.
Right, and a lot of you do things that people in your neighborhood do. Like, if you live in the country, like let's say you live in rural North Carolina, white boys ain't the only motherfuckers with pickup trucks.
Yeah,
everybody's got a fucking pickup truck. I was like, God damn, oh yeah, I got pickup trucks. You know what I'm saying? And that's just a thing. So It's kind of like, and it's all that ego thing. It's all, this is us. This makes us different. This makes us perfect. This makes us great. And a lot of times
special.
Makes us special. And a lot of times it's like.
But to your point, I think right. So when you're attached to something other than your humanity, you need that. You need the associate. You need the uniqueness of that,
right?
In order to validate
your shit
in a way,
make you feel like you are doing something, make you feel like you're more important than someone else, make you feel like you deserve whatever it is that you deserve.
And as we talking about this shit, and I want to make sure I'm leaving some room for a very specific point. In the grand scheme of things, we just now coming out of Jim Crow and civil rights movement and all of that shit, right? And so it ain't been that long ago. No. So a lot of the shit that I feel that I'm critical of are like the remnants. Like a lot of what we are experiencing now are like remnants of this motherfuckers alive who are who used to be sharecroppers. Like we ain't even outside of that piece of it yet. So I think the further we get from that, the more we're going to start letting go of some of those outdated ways, like with the young people, but how they look at race and shit differently. And so when they get our age, bro, when a 15-year-old, a 17-year-old turns 50, the world gonna be looking hella motherfucking different.
Oh, yeah.
And when they 15-year-olds turn 50 in like 2070 or whatever the case may be, that's gonna be a totally different motherfucking world.
Yeah.
And so a lot of this shit that we're talking about, I can't even see it existing, man.
No, I think it'll look different. I think what we're seeing is, again, it's not so much about race, it's about, it's really about the haves and the have-nots. It's about that 1% to 4% comparative to like the other 96% of us that don't got shit. You know what I mean? Not we don't have shit, believe me, because some of us are doing very well, but that we don't have as much as them. So it's that have and have nots thing.
So are you talking about the perception, or because that's always been, well, I'm not gonna say always been the reality, but that's been a reality at least since the 60s, 70s, right? So are you saying that people's reaction or perception of the shit is we're going to be responding more from that position than we are going to be from a racial position?
I think we'll be responding from that position instead of being racial. Okay. I think that's what's going to happen. But what do I know?
We won't be here.
Yeah, we won't be here. But I think it does become, because we start talking about like corporations becoming religions, or corporations becoming, they're already entities, but they're becoming like, they become nation states themselves.
Yeah.
Then it's not about color. It's about
money.
It's about money. It's about who has it, who hasn't, who has the resources, who doesn't have resources. But I mean, because it's always something, right? Like, racism didn't exist before what, the 1600s.
Yeah.
I mean, oh no, my bad. Racism did exist, but it wasn't
called racism.
It wasn't called racism, and there was not a systemic system behind it.
And it wasn't based on skin color, was it?
No. But
you had other shit.
Right. I mean, of course and I think we always get confused between racism and what's another word I want to use? Just dislike of another group. Tribalism, or that motherfucker from that village is black and I'm white and I don't like him. It's not the same thing as what was created after the 1600s. You know what I'm saying? By the Portuguese, who were just trying to make money, who all did all that bullshit. All the shit we got around race is just bullshit, where it's basically like, motherfuckers was trying to make money. You know what I'm saying? Quick synopsis. Motherfuckers trying to make money. They wrote that shit in. This shit sounds good.
Yeah.
They are less than you. This. You can do this as a Christian because these motherfuckers is lesser. Now, mind you, racism had existed since the beginning of time, basically. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't based on your color. It was based on the idea that, like, oh, I've got resources and you don't. I can take advantage of you. You know what I'm saying? And you say a motherfucker, oh, he's a black motherfucker, but it's not like, that doesn't keep him from going to college. You know what I'm saying?
And again, and I got to keep saying this, what's a better thing? What's a better way of describing that person? The first racist motherfucker wasn't racist. They were sinister. And so they were something other than racist. Right. So if we're going to, I think, addressing the thing more deeply or closely for what it is, the race shit is some superficial, surface level shit. Yeah. Judging a car because of the color, a Ferrari is still a Ferrari, whether that motherfucker is yellow, black, or red. Yeah. It's still a Ferrari. So it's still a car. And it's literally that simple as it relates to people. But
there is an internal thing that we all have, that if it's somebody outside of our initial group, there is this fear that we all have. And I think that was supposedly, like, I think anthropologists say that was based on the idea that you didn't want to get disease. So, like, let's say your village is here, somebody comes across from another village and they look even slightly different, you're automatically gonna be like, oh no. It's just an internal thing because because it's about survival. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be harmed. You know what I'm saying? You want harm to come to your people, your lineage, or your, you know what I'm saying, help sustain you. So I think we have that, but I think that's not what this is.
No.
You know what I mean? This isn't that at all.
It's something totally different.
Yeah. And so the question is, and this because I think this would be some of the pushback, or this would be the pushback. Well, why can't we say why are we spending time talking about black folks and not what white folks do to create all of this?
Because I ain't white.
Right.
And if I was talking to somebody white, I'm that kind of person where whoever I'm talking to is where the answer lies. Because the answer lies within all of us as individuals.
Right.
And so if I was talking to a white person who was an admitted white supremacist, or who had some ideas that they were willing to admit about because we're talking about things that we're admitting to, and that we're acknowledging that it's taking place within our group.
Right.
If a white person
That's
was
true.
in front of us, and they were acknowledging what they thought and admitting to the things that are taking place within their group,
right?
But the answer would be the same.
Yeah.
If you see a black dude walking down the street, the answer would be the answer to the white people is the same as the answer to the black people.
Yeah.
And I think that the more you get to the truth of certain things is that where you find, because if we're all one, that means the solution is the same too.
Yeah.
And they got to let go of just as much shit as we do.
Right. I think the great majority of us don't want to sit down and look at things for what they really are. It seems more difficult to become more aware of. It's difficult to be aware, to be really aware of the things that are going on around us. It's easier to pop different beliefs in there, conspiracy theories, projections, than to just say, yo, I'm observing, the observer's observed, right? So as I'm observing who I am and what I am and why I'm here and what I'm doing. And okay, that's harder to do. It's harder to observe or just, and to be aware of just yourself and what you're trying to do and why you're here than to actually put all this bullshit on. I don't know why it's easy. It just seems like everybody does that, Because
you don't have, there's nothing for you to do.
Yeah.
Like even when you observe, you're just observing. The real point is in the action. So
right.
How do I respond differently to somebody? The action, the work, the tree chopping shit that you talk about.
Yeah.
That is the work. Because observing is the beginning piece of it, but that has to be put into action. Don't nothing happen unless you motherfucking move.
Right. Yeah, that's real.
So a nigga gotta move. And he gotta either move with purpose of unity or with a purpose of division. And to me that is and that's gonna be a perception of truth.
That's real.
And that's gonna be relative.
Right. Yeah, I think we have to be aware of, we're getting back to the thing we talk about, how we try to make up these differences, cultural differences and stuff like that, right? I think the same thing. I think the same thing exists when you start talking about how human beings move, man. Like, it's this weird thing where we're trying to I lost my train of thought. It's just, I'm just what's been I've been thinking about though. It's like, why move with division? Why are people fine with being more divisive? Is it because they see somebody else doing it, they're emulating that, they're imitating that because it seems like it? You know what I'm saying? Like, why? You know what I mean? Like, I really want to know why people are so divisive. Why people, say this with this group, you're with that group, this is it, and it's gonna be these things. Like, why? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know if that really fits exactly what you're saying right now, because I feel like I'm just kind of just thinking about that shit, man. I just keep thinking about that over and over again. Like, I just don't. I don't know. I don't get. I get why we do it. Not that I get why we do it. I get that we do it. I get it's just like some kind of innate thing. But it becomes, the division becomes to your detriment.
And all of that is manufactured.
Right.
The mantra of TuneTheFork, bro, is to create new patterns of thought, speech, and action. New patterns. I am of the belief that all we are doing are repeating patterns. kind of like what I was showing you earlier.
Real. Oh, yeah.
And you don't have to be conscious of it.
Yeah.
You don't have to even know that you're doing it. And it's actually things that have been put in place prior to you.
Yep.
And that's for all the layers and the levels.
Right.
And so the divisive nature of and the racist, because that's really what I feel like that is. The divisive, racism is like division. It's divisive. It's breaking people down. And then you're categorizing it so that you can distribute resources to a smaller group of people. And so the only way you can control people is by breaking them up, is by dividing them.
It's true.
But the forces that created the division are long gone. But the process and the mechanics of it continuing is still there. Yeah, so that's why. So somebody new has to come along. One motherfucker, two motherfuckers, 2,000, 2 million, whatever, has to come along and look extremely weird, look extremely awkward,
and break that pattern.
And break the pattern to create a new pattern. And then once the new, and then there are other people who are going to come behind them who are going to be picking up that pattern.
Right.
But somebody's got to at least start with the new pattern. And so TuneTheFork's pattern is unity, is love, is owning your shit, is being vulnerable, is trying to add new metrics to what masculinity is and all of this old kind of shit, and trying to let go of all of this bullshit that keeps me from seeing me and you. My color keeps me from seeing me in a white person. It just does. And so if I'm associate, if I have a strong attachment to that.
Right.
So I have to find ways of shedding as much bullshit as I can that I identify with that keeps me from seeing another person. Now, I can still walk around and say that I'm black because as I put in the other thing, the minute you create that other, you create division. Mm-hmm. And the minute you create division, that person's humanity gets reduced.
Yeah.
To some degree.
Just enough. Just enough for you to be more human than they are.
Just enough
for you to be better than they are. So and that's the thing. I think my thing is like, I don't want to be better. I don't want to be better than another human. You know what I'm saying? Like in that capacity, I want to be better at what I do than other people. But that's more. But that's not. That doesn't speak to their. That shouldn't speak to their humanity or mine. It should speak to just what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like it's very odd to listen to and read and watch people try to dehumanize others and not realize that that's what they're doing. Like that's the shit where you're like, you do realize what the fuck you're doing. Like, like every time you say this, you're saying that somehow you're a better human, which diminishes your humanity also. You know what I mean? Like it's a weird thing for you. When you try to diminish someone else's humanity, it diminishes yours.
Yeah.
Right. Which is like, once you try to call somebody Asian a mongrel or whatever the fuck, whatever, or somebody black a mongrel, whatever it is, whatever terms they use, and it's like you just diminish your own humanity because why would you be able to speak to me like this now if you were such a, what I mean? It's like,
and that's so, and when you respond,
right, makes no sense.
You respond from a position of addressing that person's humanity, because the minute you play their role, you diminish yours too.
Yeah.
So this is why when we say the racial responding, we perpetuate it by acknowledging it. Because the dude who's calling the Asian a fucking mongrel, like, is he?
He's a clown.
What is he?
He's somebody that's trying to figure out what he is, or he's trying to, what I'm saying? He's put that on that person in order to try to make himself something that.
But we'll say he made racist comments. We'll say he was, and don't let it be a man, a woman, racist, misogynist. We'll add racist, misogynist, and don't let them be Jewish. Racist, misogynist, what's the word? Anti-Semitic. What other shit could we add to it?
I don't
know. And don't let them be transgender, transphobic. We could add 85 fucking joints.
Those identities. That's why those identities, they take away from the basic, it's like identity does exist. I'm glad you are whatever you are.
How much shit can you label a motherfucker before without just saying, yo, man, it's a shitty move.
My bad.
That was a shitty move.
My bad. I was being a dick. How hard? You can't even say that shit. My bad. I was just being a dick.
My bad. I was just being a dick.
I was being an asshole.
No, you being racist. You're being homophobic. You're being transphobic. You're being anti-Semitic. You're being misogynist. Whoa.
I thought I was you're just like, huh? Yeah. I mean, you're a misogynist if you have an argument with somebody outside your gender.
Yeah, if I'm talking over you, if I open the door, like all of this shit, 1 + 1 is 2, and but all of these are people's projections.
Yeah, don't be.
And then we participate by acknowledging
that shit instead of being like, I mean, because you can acknowledge you're wrong without acknowledging it, or you can acknowledge someone else's human experience without it being that plethora of things, all those other things that are necessary for you to dehumanize somebody else. And they are used to dehumanize, because once you're anti or whatever term you use, is istic, whatever istic you are, whatever thing, a couple letters they need to throw on your name, it's like you're doing this to diminish my humanity. Even if that was not what I was trying to do, know what I'm saying?
But so they're really diminishing theirs. But this goes back to what you were saying, because dude, we ain't even got to speciesism yet, which is a whole nother motherfucking thing. Black people, we not ready to talk about what we still talking about.
Yeah,
what we doing to each other.
We ain't talking about what we do to animals.
We ain't talking about what we doing to animals. Yeah. We ain't talking about what we doing to the motherfucking planet.
Right.
We ain't talking about what we doing to all this other shit, which to me
is a little bit more of a
some wild shit.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, no, it's really some wild shit.
We can't even get past us to even see how we wilding with all of the other motherfucking living things on the planet, bro.
That's why we need the aliens to come.
9 billion chickens on this motherfucker we murking every year.
9 billion. It's 9 billion. I thought it was 7. Whatever. 9 billion sounds good to me. Yeah, it's billions. It's billions of chickens killed like every year. Them niggas gotta be. Yeah. If you another species, you'd be like, man, them humans ain't shit.
They wildin', bro.
I don't trust them motherfuckers.
They out here.
Hey. You see a deer and be like, yeah. I mean, I'm scared of bears and lions and shit. But you know who I'm really scared of?
And if we talking about karma, right? If we talking about these exchanges of energy and all of that, like, we got a lot of motherfucking work to do as a species, not as black and white, but as a species. But we can't even have those kind of real conversations, bro, because we still talking about who cutting us off in the motherfucking CVS, bro.
I think it's so interesting. It gets to be so small because we all we talk about is black and white, and again, that only deals with the 300 million Americans. Like, what about issues? Still 7.6 to 8 billion people around the world deal with all kind of issues. You know what I'm saying?
Infrastructure, water, my nigga, electricity, internet, penicillin.
Poverty. Poverty.
Potable drinking water, just basic shit.
We talk about, we narrow that lens on it, and there's so much else going on, man. That's the thing that I'm always looking at, like, It's an incredible amount of things going on in this universe, not shit on this planet that we don't discuss because we sit there and discuss this same shit over and over and again, and it's like a loop, right? So,
water's a problem that we ain't talking about.
We ain't talking about that at all, but we'll talk about a Karen. A Karen at the whatchamacallit.
Rittenhouse. You see that new Rittenhouse? And send a nigga something about the water crisis.
Like what?
Like what a hoe said.
Hey, you know the glaciers is melting. What, nigga? Man, but that Rittenhouse ain't shit.
Hey, dog, check this out. You know polar bears are drowning, right? Polar bears?
Yeah, fuck them polar bears, dog.
Fuck them polar bears.
See what Rittenhouse did today?
You see Rittenhouse crying?
But it does when you say shit like that, then it gets to be ridiculous. Do you see how ridiculous it is? Like it becomes ridiculous, right? It's like
when you look at the grand scheme, when you take a step back and you blow that shit out and you actually sit and think about, even when you try to have a dude, when I sit and try to really have a conversation to dissect who's really black and who's really white and where motherfuckers are really from, I feel like I'm getting dumber having the conversation.
Because
if somebody's half black and half white, and then their mom is full black and their dad is half white, and we're sitting here and we're like, this is a beautiful mind, Stephen Hawking level mathematics to try to dissect who the fuck somebody is.
And it don't matter.
None of it matters.
It don't matter. That's the shit where you be like, come on, dog.
None of it matters.
Yeah, because that's the shit, and who's black.
Who's black?
I think I saw on this Facebook message board, they were talking about, I called it a message board. And they were going back and forth, and they were talking about how they had this whole thing. And these are American blacks talking about how people from North Africa were real Africans. And I was like, but they live in Africa. Yeah, but the Europeans had them implanted some crazy shit they were saying. It was like, but they African, dog. Like,
so it's where you born, right?
Right, but it also, but they're trying to talk about all like the people, people move and all this stuff, and it's like, but you're taking it out of context to fit your ideology, just to make you feel good about something. So you're saying that these millions of people across North Africa aren't African, but you African. It's like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't, it's just one of those things, man. You just usually like, okay, you got it, baby. You know what I mean? Like,
you gotta say you got it.
You got it. Because how many brain cells are you gonna lose on that? How much time
and
are you gonna lose
and how
on
much
that?
facts and how much data. And here's the thing that could be getting me. I'm gonna stop trying to pull out data and stop trying to argue and prove points. It don't matter. It don't matter, bro. And we got to be honest about that.
I think it does. I think it matters to a degree.
Whose mind? You ain't gonna change his mind, bro.
That's true.
It don't matter what you show him.
But the thing,
because he got a belief.
He got a belief. But I think you can make people at least question their belief. At least give them something to question that shit. You know what I mean? Let me give you something else to look at. Because I think we do things like,
when is the last time you've changed somebody's mind?
Oh, I don't know. I actually don't know. I don't know, and I don't know. But I will say, at least let me
ask you a question. When's the last time your mind has been changed?
Oh, I think my mind has been
that you can remember
adjusted. Like my thought process has been adjusted.
And you don't think that's a problem?
I think I think the adjustment has been great for me. I don't know how you want to apply it, but I think me growing and learning and reading out, beginning to read other books by seeing something else that maybe challenged me.
So adjusted. So when I said change, you changed the word change to adjusted.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that you changed that word. Let me rephrase it. Let me use your term. You adjusted the term.
I adjusted the term
for a specific reason.
Yeah, it felt more comfortable. I mean, yeah, but I don't. Well, I think it's also I'm thinking about when you say change is kind of like it's on and off. Whereas I'm thinking adjustment.
Agree, disagree. That's my idea. Change.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking like
agree, disagree.
Over time, you're like, oh, this isn't that. This is because I read some more books. So you know what I'm saying? So when have you felt strongly? When is the last time? Can you recall the last time you have felt strongly in one direction about something and had somebody actually change that? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. All right, you got me on that one. I can't think on that one.
So now, mind you, think about this shit. We are the most flawed things to exist in terms of a thought process.
Yeah.
And we think a gang of shit. And the fact that we thought something and landed extremely firmly on it one way or another, and despite our attempts to expand our knowledge, we didn't come across any motherfucking body who helped shift that. Because what it's saying indirectly is, I ain't never been proven wrong. That's not saying that you say that. I know that's not true, but because we have, but that's kind of like what that says, kind of like in a.
I get what you're saying. I don't know, man. I think that, I don't know. I would say, my mind has been changed about things. I can't think about it. It's kind of like you can't pinpoint it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not a thing you can pinpoint, but I know my mind has been changed regarding what our experience as African Americans has been. You know what I mean? Like you kind of grow and you learn, and you kind of it's kind of like you adjust to. I keep saying adjust because adjust is the word that fits. Like it's an adjustment. Like, oh, maybe this part existed. Maybe this part was true, but maybe this part wasn't true. Maybe these two things together are more in line with what the facts are than what I initially started with. You know what I mean? So it is like a change over time, but it's not just like on and off. You know what I mean? I think that's the only way I can. And
so when we encounter people, I feel like sometimes we want that, to use your term, adjustment to occur.
Yeah, we do. Real time. We do.
When that shit ain't even happening to us.
Yeah, and that's true. Yeah, so we have to be aware of that. It's more or less. So there's a lot of times
it's a chisel.
Yeah.
Because especially because it's because I agree. One of the biggest examples, sometimes it's the way we're saying the things that and the person who we're saying it to has to experience something at a particular point in a way that allows them to integrate what we were saying. Because that's what I feel like. You've been a really big example to me in a very profound way. And it was just based on like how you lived and how you saw the world. But because it was so much different than mine, I rejected it.
Right.
And it was only over a course of time that as I changed and oriented a little bit, that it's not that what you were saying was different. It was the way I was interpreting it.
Right.
And then it was like, you know how you moving a piece around? Like you're the piece.
Right.
I can't change you. Right. So, but I'm changing me kind of like in a way. Right. And then that shit like just locked in. And I was like, yeah. And to me, that's the adjustment.
Right.
And maybe that is a better word.
Yeah.
Because I had to adjust.
Right.
And it's me that always has to adjust though. It's never the person.
Right.
So when we're talking to people and trying to get them to do something different, it's them that has to come to that.
They have to come to that on their own. And if they don't come there on their own, then it's not gonna happen.
And that's some time bound shit.
Yeah. But it's interesting I think. Oh, I'm sorry. That should trip me out.
My cat.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I like to try to provide context sometimes for folks, So when I just, because I know I rattle off shit, I be on one, but I don't think people, I want to believe that context helps provide context for you to be like, oh, okay, I get this. But a lot of times context sometimes doesn't work either. Sometimes you can give context and people still be like, well, I don't know why you mentioned that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can rattle off numbers and people be like, well, that don't have anything to do with what I just said. But you say, I'm just giving you context of how, let's say, like how humans move. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So if humans move in a very particular way and you're saying, well, history repeats itself and this is what happened with this group of people. And this is what happened, and people are like, well, that don't have anything to do with these people here. And you're like, but I just told you, I just gave you context for humanity. And you're still saying that it doesn't fit for whatever it is that you want to, whatever you want to believe right now.
But that context is something that you're presenting because it means something to you. That context might not mean something to them. It might be something totally different. So you might be talking about all that humanity shit and about how all of this shit worked in the past and all that. Right. That shit you like. That shit that we. Right. But you could have said some shit that you didn't even know was cold-blooded.
Right.
He got a daughter. She goes out, meets a white boy.
Right.
Marries that white boy. Remembers a statement that you said, not the history shit,
right?
But all of this other shit that was like, eventually we gotta humanity has to learn how to become one, and this and that, and that piece you said, is the motherfucking thing that connects with his daughter being with a white dude, and that unlocks and makes all of that other shit that you said make sense. But his daughter had to go marry a white boy in order to unlock all of that old other shit that you said. But like when you said, over time, sometimes it's a motherfucker's parents dying. Sometimes, who knows? Like the life experience of the person, it could be any motherfucking thing. I think to the point that you were making, all we can do is show up and be our authentic selves and move with unity.
Right.
With the purpose of unity and truth. And that truth is going to be subjective. Your truth is the historical nature of all of this shit. And I know you're not, I know that you have a bigger purpose and the things that you speak lead to that.
Yeah.
I might not understand it or necessarily even agree in a lot of cases.
Right.
But I do feel that that's your motherfucking life charter.
Right. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And so if I can't see it, that don't mean it ain't there.
Yeah, but I think but then you have to stay on your, on your soapbox. Everybody got a soapbox of some sort, you know what I'm saying? So you got to stay on your soapbox to a degree. I mean, yeah, you literally have your soapbox. This is your soapbox. Yeah, but you have to stay on your soapbox until people get, and even me watching what you've been doing with this, I get it. You know what I'm saying? I see where you're headed with it. You're you're doing a little readjustment. And people are hearing and seeing the readjustment. You know what I'm saying? It's not just you adjusting, it's them also making changes and adjustment. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And growing and learning. And I think that's the part that you gotta how do you wake up in the morning and not speak to that? I think that's my thing. You should speak to it regardless. Everything else is bullshit. You know what I mean? But if you get up and you speak to it, and you get up and you create around it, you keep it moving. You got to keep hitting the drum so they know. So they know you know how far away you are. You know what I'm saying? The smoke signal has to keep going up. So maybe they'll see, oh my gosh, there's a smoke signal. I can go to it. So, I know it exists.
And you've been that, dog, and I think you do that. And your chop the tree analogy is something that really resonates. And I've grown so much, man, being somebody that is close to you as a friend and shit, and just over that period of time allowing a lot of what you said and who you are. And I've told you this like privately, bro. I was like, I get it. I get it. And once you see it
then
and you get it, you like, and you can, and a lot of motherfucking resistance can, and when I say resistance, I don't mean like a lot of, most of what I am preventing myself from seeing the shit that's in front of me. And that's the reality of it. And so when I encounter someone who can't see me in front of them,
right,
I have to remember that is happening all the motherfucking time, even from myself.
Yep. It's just getting, it's kind of like, it is that vulnerability thing. It is being like, these things that I believe in may not be the only way to believe or the only way to move. You know what I mean? Like, and to be able to talk to people and say, yo, you gotta keep going. Even when you don't want to keep going. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause that's the chop the tree shit. But it's like, keep going. It's gonna be okay. Just, trying to, on the very basic levels, you're gonna be okay. You know what I'm saying? Just keep going. Just keep walking. You know what I mean? And it's, I don't know, man. It's
And I bet you don't know, bro, how many people read that shit and actually use it. You'll never know. But I can tell you, I'm one of them. And that ain't no motherfucking bullshit.
I appreciate that.
When I see that shit sometimes, I'll be laying in my bed or be thinking about something and be contemplating being slight.
Yeah.
And I'll hear that chop the tree shit. Or I'll go online. And this is why, dude, I'm like, all of this shit is perfect and purposeful and matters. No matter how fucking weird or wild or insignificant you feel your shit is. I feel like if you align with your actions, even when you're not, but especially when you align, that shit resonate and connects with people, man. And we'll never know, bro. And you speak through your art and the things that you do. Yeah, and it's moving, man, and it's helping people, bro.
It's also for me, so I post that shit. I literally post that shit.
It's the same.
I'll be hurting.
It's the same.
You be hurting. You be like, nigga, chop the tree. So you post it, so you see it.
Yeah,
I'm looking at it. I'm not. I'm like, it's cool for them. Even be kind. I say be kind. I'm not telling you motherfuckers what to do. I'm informing myself that in order and that might be just be kind to myself. That might not be kind to so-and-so over there, somebody you don't think you should like. It's be kind. Be kind to yourself. Be kind in your movements. Be loving. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like you just try to learn from that, man. Like you're learning from trying to, how do I want to put this? You're learning through continuing to not only exist, but to move forward. So it's like just learning, like, how are we gonna do this today? I don't know, but I'm gonna use these words so I can keep. This is informing me that I can move forward. This is informing me that I can continue to progress in my humanity. You know what I mean? Like that's where my head is at. You know what I mean? I feel like we're kind of all on that right now. Cause with this, you know what I'm saying? See what y'all doing. I've seen the progress from what y'all doing on the show. You know what I mean? Or just, and the funny thing is, I have a hard time watching y'all because I talk to y'all and I text y'all. So I'm like, man, I'll be looking at this shit like, how the fuck I'm gonna listen to these motherfuckers talk again?
It's a different thing, yeah.
Yeah, but it's that thing, like, but you can see the difference in like conversation. You can see the growth in conversation. You can see the depth, in the conversation. And I don't know if that coming across in this conversation, but like I notice it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Even with my other friends, like even when I talk to them, even my conversations, like I'm not having any basic conversations like around any of this stuff. I don't want to have those conversations. I don't need you to tell me that if we do this and all black people come together, we gonna be all right. It's like, don't tell me that. That's not really. Yeah. So we're doing today. Yeah. Are we doing that today? When you still go back and people. I don't need you to tell me how much you hate the white lady over here, but I know that your best friend at work is a white lady. You know what I'm saying? Even if you don't want to admit that's your best friend, I'm not interested in those things anymore. Like, it's like, how do we get to, I'm I'm not big on religion, right? I don't know about you. I'm
not either.
Yeah, I'm not big on religion at all. But it is that. But out of the Christian ideology is just that loving and caring about your friend, your neighbor, and all this stuff. Like, if y'all really believe in that stuff, why do y'all say the exact opposite? Even in all faiths, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing. But it's like, how does that get eliminated first all the time? You know what I mean? It's kind of like
the basic shit.
The basic shit gets somehow, but then y'all talking about y'all going to church and
having faith, not judging other people, treating your neighbor like blah blah blah, like the basic.
Right.
It's funny though, because as I get older, I'm starting to recite the Bible a lot more as I'm getting over. Like when I was in my 30s, I never talked about that shit.
Right.
Like now, I feel like I'm like, that one time it's like referenced too much.
Right.
Like I'm into it.
But I think I think we're all trying to figure out terminology to use, and we don't want it to be, and we know those books contain basically those ideas and terminology that are effectively work. I mean, it's tried and true that the Bible works. It's tried and true that the Quran works, and the Torah. These things are those, and that's why we use them. I think now that we, like some of the books that I've been reading and things that we've talked about, like with the Ernest Becker stuff, like that language speaks to me. But he even talks about spirituality being a thing. You know what I'm saying? Being a necessity in some way, shape, or form. So I'm always, I don't want to use language from any particular religious source, but I understand that those same things are the same things we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? And people just trying to find the easiest way to speak to them. But what happens when that religion becomes involved and goes with the ideology, goes with the thing, and next thing you know, you're going back downhill, and it's divisive. And if you don't do it this way because they said it this way in this book, then you going to hell. Yeah. And it's like, well, that's not what any of the shit was supposed to be about in the first place. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you're supposed to be able to bring people of different faiths together and be able to participate together, or even, whatever it is to make you feel comfortable, make you feel loved, and make you feel like you can make it through the day, make it to tomorrow. You know what I mean? So it shouldn't be that, I don't know. I don't understand. I don't understand fatwas or like, religious, we're going to kill everybody. Yeah. Because of religious reasons. I'm always like, well, that defeats the purpose. I thought y'all loved everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I do love everybody. You're like, but you just murked 2,000 people.
You just killed 2,000 people for no reason. You know what I'm saying? Like that doesn't. I don't know, man. So I think with me, man, I'm just trying to figure out basic language, a basic way to speak to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, you can have all this other stuff on top of it. But if we say erase division, it doesn't mean any more than erase division. Try not to be divisive. You know what I'm saying? If I say empathy, I'm not saying that, you can't be mad at a motherfucker who, you can't hate Robert E. Lee. I'm saying you can be empathetic to people's misunderstandings or belief system as to why they believe that, and then be like, oh, well, you need to get past this. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna figure out how to get you past this dumb shit because this ain't working. You know what I mean? Like you can, I don't know, man. I don't see why you can't have compassion for people and still be like, you can be compassionate and still be like, I still had to kick his ass. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But I still, out of love, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're trying to get you, just trying to help everybody move forward. You know what I mean? Like, how do we move forward? Let's keep going. It's not just this one thing. It's not just this one way. That's never worked. You know what I mean? Like, and then to have to keep, and then if we go, go all the way back to the harder they fall. It don't have to be this way for us to tell a story. This isn't necessary. We don't have to do the thing where, we have to, that the shiny shit is more important than the story. We don't have to do that. We don't have to,
Yeah. And I think that's a good testament for life, bro. It's like, I was listening to this woman talk about something like our lives, bro. I want to be that kind of. I want to lead that life where that is the story. It don't have to be shiny, like coming on here and talking about things and highlighting what motherfuckers got and all of that. There are places in the story where that is relevant.
Yep.
But this thing called life, bro, it's not the beginning and the end. It's all of the shit that's in the middle.
Yeah, it's all
and most of that shit ain't shiny.
No, it's not.
Most of it ain't pretty.
And that's the thing. Listen, that's what I was talking about.
But it is.
I was talking the other day. It was like, yo, like I really just want people to understand, like it's not that shit. It's not the sexy shit. The sexy shit ain't the payoff. It feels like it is. The payoff is that
it looked like it is.
It looked like it is, but it's the fact that you get to do the shit that you want to do and you're doing it. That's the shit. That's the real shit. You know, you gotta work to get the shit you want. It don't come easy. And the work is the shit where you up all night or whatever and you just doing the work. And you wake up the next day and you like, oh, I got that done. And you kind of get a chance to look back. You get a chance to reflect on what you've done. When you see what's in front of you, you're like, oh wow, this much is done. And you gotta keep going and keep it.
It's the one thing I always liked about construction workers, bro. So you get up every day and you go do something. And then at the end of that day, you can see what the fuck you did.
Yeah, that's some shit, right?
And I like that. Yeah, then you do something the next day, and then there's a motherfucker who used to say, I helped build the Empire State Building. Like you was in that joint, putting them bricks in there. Yeah. You did that, and a bunch of other motherfuckers.
That's a sense of pride in that. There's a piece in that where you get to be like, yeah, I did.
Is it the Empire State Building that you did that you focus on, or is it the memories of going in that motherfucker
right
day after day?
Right, and that's what it really is.
That's what you use that as an emblem to remind you of all of that other shit.
But we live in a society that says that you can get it today, you can get it tomorrow. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of weird. It's interesting to start to see, like, and I said like this shit changed for me like the last 7-8 years, man. Where it's like, oh, I got it all of a sudden. Where it's not about you get to go to the club and stand on the you know in your little group and you popping bottles. It's not that part. I mean, it's cool to do that part, but that's not it. And that don't feel as good as when you wake up the next day and you say, oh shit, I did get that much done. Look at this motherfucker I'm working on. And you get to work the next day and then people appreciate that and you appreciate it. You know, you appreciate what you're doing. That's a total different feeling than believing that you got a car. So now you know what I mean? But for me, it took me a long time to really realize like, wow, like none of that shit is like getting a car don't mean shit. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you know, it doesn't mean anything to that part of you that's speaking to your growth and the love of what you do. I mean, it's a payoff. It's a dope payoff. You know what I'm saying? But the car ain't the thing. You know, the bragging about it online or whatever ain't the thing. The thing is what you do. Like, I do this. I love doing what I do. I creating every fucking day. When I wake up, I know what I got to do.
And all of that shit is a byproduct of it. It's it's like it's a byproduct. Yeah. And that's what I don't think is communicated enough. Nope. And a large reason too is I don't think that's necessarily shown. And that's a part of like creating these new patterns is I want people to see me fumble, bro. I want them to see me make mistakes and not use the right words. Yeah. And to change my mind, to admit when I'm wrong, to go back and redo it or not redo it and be okay.
Practice.
I could edit this shit in a way to where it would look a little bit more concise. I can make an hour, 20 minutes.
Right.
I can make an hour and a half, but no, to me, there's something about watching people figure something out in real time. Like, cause I mean, we could talk for an hour and a half and maybe get like, and that whole hour and a half could be for 3 minutes that we get out of that shit. Yeah, but we not figured out, but that's what the conversation was for, that 3 minutes. Right. So then you start learning how to create a rhythm with somebody, how to get a vibe, how to listen, how to talk, know when to shut the fuck up.
That's what I it's kind of like, I don't know if I ever told you, I started associating everything with practice, not AI practice. Not AI practice. But the idea, well, it kind of does go along with it. It's like, this is practice. Like, this is all practice. But I say all of it is practice, right? So me being on here right now is practice. It's practice for what else I'm going to do in life. You know what I'm saying? So every time we had these so it's not that I feel like I got to get up here and be perfect.
Yeah.
I just know we talking today. I might be on the podcast 2 years from now and be like, well, I was on the podcast before and I learned this or I remember this, and that's going to affect how I work on this one. So it's kind of, for me, is I leave a lot of pressure for myself. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, it's practice, y'all.
Cause you get kind of anxious talking.
Yeah, cause I've been told. Nish told me she's like you just have a lot to say. I have a lot on my mind. You know what I'm saying? So my anxiety builds up around like, I can't get everything out I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm also I like to joke. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times the humor might get lost because I'm like, I got something really important to say. I need to go ahead and say it. Oh, there's 3 other things that are important for me to say. Oh shit, I'm gonna get these out. Fuck it, let me tell a joke real quick. Forgot where I was at. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure if we look back through this so far, we can say this happened several times. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, it's just a lot to say. I usually just have a lot going through.
I think you, at least from my side, and seeing you do enough of these motherfuckers, like your energy's been real. You ain't, cause you normally start
real high,
or at least I don't know if spastic is necessarily right. You can tell that there is some anxiousness. Like I feel like now I feel like even from the beginning, I was like, oh, okay, he just.
Yeah, I came in chill.
He landed, you landed, that was a smooth landing, like aircraft carrier type landing.
Yeah, I came in chill. Yeah, no, I think you get a little, and then I think sometimes the concern is like, how do you come off? How people going to see you? You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's like, you want to make sure you buck. You know what I mean? So people, this nigga crazy. He gonna say something stupid. He gonna be on some dumb shit. You know what I'm saying? Or he gonna be, fiery and whatever. You know what I mean? So, man, it's not always necessary. I think just you gotta balance it out. You gotta figure out what really works. You just practice, right?
Yeah.
So we talk and, You
never fail when you practicing.
Nah, bro.
It's a practice.
It's life. So you don't fail at life until you gone.
Till you out of here.
You know what I'm saying? Because you always got fucking tomorrow. So what you gonna do? I'm gonna keep going. You know what I mean? And hopefully you improve in one way, shape, or form. You know what I'm saying? Like every day you get better, right? Every day.
So how you feel about, we're about to wrap up, how you feel about the conversation?
It's a cool conversation, man. It's a cool convo. I think it's interesting because I feel like there's so much more to say and we're not saying it. You know what I mean?
You not saying it because that's just what I was getting ready to say.
Yeah, I don't.
Now I'm gonna say this to you on it. You didn't say what you wanted to say.
Yeah, I don't know how to get it all out.
Because you don't know how to get it all out because you're concerned about being misinterpreted.
Yeah, it's true.
And so, because if we go back and look at them text messages, we'd be like, "Dog, we just got to say it. Somebody got to say the shit. Somebody got to have a conversation." So I'm saying all the feeling that you feeling, is because.
No, I would say I'm not that stressed out about it. I feel like it's practice. It's a good starting point.
It's practice.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like you can't say everything because it's hard for people can't digest all the food sometimes you put on their plate. You know what I mean? And they'll pick out the one thing to believe that this is it. You know what I mean?
And that's an excuse you using.
True.
That's because you know you could get that work, bro.
Yeah.
And that's what. And it's not a criticism, bro. It's just I gotta call it the way I see it because
No, it's cool.
I'm going to continue to create the space so that people who want to share can, when they feel comfortable doing it.
I mean, I don't think it's, how do I put it?
Because why we can't say what we want to say?
True.
Everybody else do. And we always, and here's the thing too, like you said, we always lead with love and unity, bro. Yeah. And even though we do that, people still gonna be like, nope, I don't like what you said. That wasn't right. That wasn't whatever the case may be. Now don't get me wrong, bro. This is number 40 for me. Right. So I've gotten.
I mean, you know, I've done a few.
A little cooler at saying, not even really fuck it, but just letting go of the no. I know I'm gonna be misunderstood. I know. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, I feel like I think I get tired. I think I get tired of the because you know, I think I do end up in these kind of like dialogues, these back and forth dialogues with people. And sometimes I get tired because then people assume that I'm always gonna be the one that wants to have those dialogues. Like people hit me up like, yo, something. I'm like, nigga, I'm fucking tired today. I don't want to talk to you about this shit today. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is my day. This is my day off. It could be like 15 minutes. This could be my 15 minutes to myself. Why am I getting a text about why you don't like that phrase today? You know what I'm saying? Like, and I also understand that. I put that out there. People, but I think sometimes just be like, yo, I'm not in the mood for that shit. Yeah. You know, because they want to hit you with that shit when you're like, nigga, we could have talked about that yesterday, but today, I don't feel, you know, so I think that happens sometimes. But man, nah, man, I try to be a little bit more conscious and aware of what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? And what's my energy that day? What's my space, right? At that moment in time. Or what's been my train of thought, you know, and some over maybe the last few hours. Maybe I'm not as angry about certain things. Maybe I saw something else that was just so, you know, I think it was talking about the conspiracy theories when I walked in. You know what I'm saying? I'm so I was like, but then you're trying to temper that because it's just like, you know, these are your homeboys you're talking about. You know, your family members. It could be any or you're like, yo, I'm not arguing with you about no goddamn conspiracy theories today. You know what I'm saying? Like, so then you might not be in the mood to have those kind of conversations because she's already like, nah, nigga, I'm tired of this shit. Like, and I think that's human though, right?
100%.
But yeah, man, there's way more we can fucking say. Well, you know, I'm setting up for a round two because I want to sit in here with Brocky and his mans because they was talking some shit. I had to put that out there.
Nah, they good.
Nah, they good. I'm really joking about them, but yeah. But I would love to have more dialogue when you get
more people.
You get people with definitively, and it's not that we don't have definitively different views, but like you get a few more people so you can have that more of that back and forth. You know, and it's not that you want to have an argument, but you want to have dialogue and you want to be able to really put it out there. I think sometimes if I don't feel like the threat, then
the bear poked.
Yeah, then the necessity, right? Then the necessity for me is like, all right, we cool right now, man. So let's go ahead and ride this up. But the conversation we having is like, how we have to have this conversation. You know what I mean? Like we have to continue to have this conversation, and like we have to have this conversation with our friends. And so this is a beginning dialogue that half the cat's gonna be like, you ain't black enough, or you don't love your people, something, because you don't. And it's like, really? Okay. Is that really what it is? And anytime a nigga say that, then
you just gotta say, okay, Buck. You just see you when you poke. But see that's your vibe. Yeah. I don't like arguing with motherfuckers.
I mean, I just enjoy the idea that we could that we can talk through this. We don't have to talk through it. We can dialogue. We can argue about it. Whatever term you want to use, right? We can argue about this shit all you want. And I know I'm gonna hit you with some information that your ass don't want to really think about, or really want to bear down and be like, okay.
They don't give a fuck about your data. They say fuck data.
Yeah, fuck data.
And then they'll tell me, because I'm telling you, bro, you could be Noam Chomsky sitting in this motherfucker.
I know.
Noam Chomsky. You could be Kimberly Crenshaw.
Right. Yeah.
You could. You can hey, listen, they don't give a fuck.
You could be Neil deGrasse Tyson and be like, listen, the planets work just like this. And they could be like, nah, fuck no.
Yeah, 8 planets. No, it's 9. Okay.
Yeah, you'd be like, okay, nigga, okay. But yeah, but I mean, yeah, that's true. But I think I know I do get a little thing out of it watching somebody like argue a point. You like, but nigga, but the data says. That's always funny to me though. You know what I mean? But if you don't have data,
and everybody got data. Yeah. Everybody just ain't got the same data.
Yeah, they got the same data.
Because at the end of and this goes back to what we were saying before, like saying you have data is basically saying I have a perspective that you don't have.
Right.
And if you can lead into and that's it. So I appreciate you coming through, bro.
I feel like we have to have a part 2, homeboy.
We're gonna always have. I want to get life here. When all 3 of us, it's something about 3 or more changes the whole dynamic.
I think we talked about that before. Yeah, I mean, if this was like an interview and we didn't know each other, it'd be like, so tell me about what happened.
So when did you know you won the first?
Right. Yeah. Now we're not doing that shit at all. Yeah.
But nah, man, I appreciate you, bro, coming through. We're gonna do a part 2 on
let's do it
on some other shit.
Let's do it. Now let's talk more about us blacks being black.
The blackified.
Blackified. I'll let you say that shit.
Hey man, I'm about to go back and look.
Oh man, they're gonna be mad at you.
They're gonna be mad, dog.
They're gonna be mad.
Hey, listen,
you
man.
mean blackify? This is yo.
Talking about race, but talking about race.
Oh man, listen. Somebody, I ain't gonna mention no names, but I want to thank this young lady. She's an artist. She sent me this thing yesterday. She was like, I know you hate this. And it was like this digital artwork, but it had like where it put crowns on everybody and black fist.
Oh.
And I was dying laughing, dog. My bad.
Hey, so, and I'm gonna close on this, and then I'm gonna post this. If anybody wants to make buck today, please put under this post, King. Thank y'all for coming out.
Please, thank you.